Welcome to the school committee meeting of Tuesday, November 12th, 2019. We'll start with our acceptance of the meeting minutes for the meeting of October 28th, 2019.
Motion to accept. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I see nothing under communication, nothing under audience, so I'll pass it to you, Dr. Cron.
Thank you. Just a few things. Very pleased to report that the box program is back in our elementary schools. We have students working out on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday mornings from 7 to 7:45. This before school activity is free to families. So very excited to see that happening again. Thank you to Mrs. Folsom for organizing that. I want to congratulate the Rogers Middle School, the students and faculty who participated in last week's walkathon to raise money for water for Sudan. They raised $2,350, and they are trying to raise $5,000 so that they can build a second well in South Sudan. So I guess it costs $5,000 to build a well, but again, it was great to see the kids out there after school walking, doing laps, and the faculty. There were so many faculty members, so great job by Ms. Bond and the entire middle school. A reminder to all high school parents and students that the high school parent-teacher conferences are coming up on Wednesday, November 20th, and they happen from 1 to 2:30 and 6:30 to 8. I think it's actually 1 to 3:30. I may have misprinted that. But it's just important, parents. It's an opportunity for you to check in with your son or daughter's teachers. It's an opportunity for you to just get a sense of how they're doing. It's early in the year, and I highly recommend that you take advantage of that. I think sometimes, being the parent of a high school student myself, we've been to the school year after year after year, and we tend to think that our high school kids don't need quite as much support. But I strongly disagree with that. I think they do. They need your help organizing. They will be annoyed if you're talking to their teachers. Mine are. But I highly recommend that you do it. I believe that our kids are glad when our parents are connected to our teachers, and I can tell you that it does make a difference. It makes a really big difference. So again, those are coming up next Wednesday, November 20th from 1 to 3:30, I believe, and 6:30 to 8. So please consider putting that in your calendar. And then finally, there will be an elementary building project information night this coming Tuesday, November 19th at 6:30 p.m. in the Memorial Park Elementary School. And I highly encourage anyone who would like to tour Memorial Park. It's a great opportunity. We'll give you a quick rundown of the project, and then take anyone who would like on a tour of the facility so that you can see the deplorable conditions in that building. And again, that is November 19th at 6:30 p.m. And that's all I have for tonight.
Just a comment on
Yes.
that. I'm a high school teacher, and I love to talk to parents. It's really nice to get that
Yeah.
connection with the parent. And,
Yeah.
to talk to them about their sons and daughters and stuff like that.
It's helpful, isn't it?
It really
It gives
is.
you
It really
insight
is.
into the
And,
child.
and it gives insight to the parents too.
Absolutely.
And just that connection. So when you do have to make that phone call,
To tell them how great they are.
Yeah,
Tell 'em
always,
how great they
always,
Yeah.
and anytime you can call them, or see them, or something
Right.
like that. It's always a pleasure to have that connection.
Yeah, the teachers appreciate it, absolutely.
I really do too. And and then talking to the student the next day after I talk to the parents. You talk to my mother? You talk
Right.
to my father?
Right.
Yeah. What do they have to say about you?
It's like seeing you in the grocery store.
Right. And the Long Walk to Water was the middle school one book this year.
Yes.
So I think it brought that all full circle to earning money, right? So that was a good idea. Okay, on to reports, monthly reports for October. Administrators, guidance, nurse, and pupil personnel services.
Full motion to approve.
4 seconds.
All those in favor? 4 ayes.
May I just throw out a shout out
You
to the high
can.
school guidance department? An exceptional October for the high school guidance department. You are going into classrooms. You've provided financial aid nights for parents. I just want to take my hat off to the high school guidance department. I think they're doing an outstanding job. And Ms. Margie Black leads them, and she's a Spitfire. So congratulations to them. They're working really hard for our kids, so thank you.
I'm sure she's just as excited to see those acceptances coming through. I've seen a few now on Facebook, and I think that she probably is just as excited as the parents to start to see her work come through, you know.
I thought I read 73 applications for early action,
Really?
which is very high.
Wow,
That's good.
Yeah.
That's something.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Okay, school newsletters for November. I have that I actually attended the Great Pumpkin Race last, I don't remember, Wednesday last week for the middle school. It was also, I believe we did that when I was a kid here in Rockland, and we missed it a few years because the stadium was getting renovated, so it was cool to have it back
Yeah.
and see all the kids and hear them yelling and, you know, all the parents that got to go. So that was a fun take for me. My children did not run. My son was in the band, Dr. Cron. But yeah, it was still a fun take for me to go and enjoy and watch.
These are nice. Love the colors on them.
Right.
I love all the information that's in them.
Well, must be a lot of work doing these. It's amazing. They're so much better than they used to be.
Yeah.
Do the students work on them?
Maybe at the elementary level, they
Okay.
involve them
Yeah,
a little bit.
yeah, it-
But I think most of the high school and middle school are Ms. Bond and Dr.
Yeah.
Harrison.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Good job.
Okay, building rentals for September and October. The buildings have been busy for sure, starting to pick up now that it's getting cooler and everyone will be inside instead of outside.
Good.
And nothing under old business, so we'll move on to new business. Request for approval of fundraisers.
Oh, chocolates.
Rogers Middle School PAC is doing Hilliard's chocolate bars. I actually think that this isn't,
It's for the Philly
it's for the Philly trip, right. It's not quite right on our front page, but it is for the 8th grade Philly trip, selling chocolate bars for November. And the preschool PAC would like to sell raffle tickets
In March.
in March.
March.
Do we have two motions?
Two motions, please.
2 seconds.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
St. Patty's Day.
And I keep losing my place.
Budget.
The budget, FY20 budget development timeline.
Yeah,
Is that
just-
to you?
Just to walk, we're hoping to accelerate the schedule a little bit this year. So we're looking at a January 9th approximation for preliminary budget coming to school committee. January 28th, preliminary budget submitted to town officials, so that'd be the town accountant, town administrator, and the finance committee. Throughout February, we'll be meeting with the finance committee liaisons. February and March, superintendent, that would be me, and Ms. Hackett will be working with the finance committee, the town accountant, and the town administrator to work out final details. A public hearing on the school budget will take place on April 13th at 5:30, and then the final FY20 budget will be presented to the school committee at 6:30 p.m. on the 13th. All purchase orders due on May 1st, and then we have town meeting on May 4th. So that is the budget timeline. It's all subject to change, but just nice to have an outline of where some of the goals we're trying to hit timeline-wise.
Right.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 How's the process going, Doctor?
I mean, to be very honest, we have a new town administrator and a new town accountant. I assume that they're going to be very conservative.
Well,
I know if I were in their position, I would be very conservative. So that makes me a little nervous. I don't want them to be conservative with the school's budget.
right.
At the same time, I'm concerned because our demographics are changing very quickly in this district, which I'll be talking about a lot more over the next few meetings. And with those changes, unfortunately, there are costs involved, so that makes me very nervous. We also have some initiatives that I think the district really needs to take on that you'll hear about in my goals, but one of them being a one-to-one Chromebook initiative, and that's going to take some capital. So I'll sleep a lot better after we get some of these numbers ironed out. But I will say the one saving grace is that the changes to the funding formula on the state level should benefit us
Good.
and should benefit the town and should give them a lot more money to work with. And so I look forward to a very collaborative process. I'll say that Town Administrator Doug Lapp and Biz have been great. I have no doubt that they're going to tell it like it is all the way along and be very upfront with us. But I want to protect what we've built, and I feel as though there's some building yet to be done. So, and all those things cost money. So over the last 2 weeks, Jane Hackett and myself have been meeting with the building principals and beginning to really go over every single position in every building, every single expenditure that they're making, because if there's anything that we can cut back or change on our end, we want to do that. I don't want to just continue to ask for more. I want them to know that we're being very reflective and we take it very seriously, the responsibility that we have for spending taxpayer money in a responsible way. So that's what we're doing to get ready for this process.
I would suggest too, like what you're saying, I know it's true that you are looking, even though we may be wanting to add some things, you're also looking on the other side of the ledger, perhaps doing away with some things. And when we get to the meetings with Finance Committee and so on, it might be well to show them what we are doing on both sides of the coin, if you will, so that
Absolutely.
they can appreciate that this isn't just, like you said, asking for more. It's
Right.
not. It's,
Right, but there are real costs. Our changing demographics, you know, to give you an idea, we've had a 35% increase in what are termed high needs students at our high school in the last 2 years. Now, high needs can be English language learner. It can be, it's anyone who has an IEP is considered high needs. Anyone who is low income is considered high needs. So it's a fairly broad category. But 41% of all students attending Rockland High School are high needs. There are costs associated with that. And as that continues to rise, they need things. They need technology, but more importantly, they need staff. And staff is really expensive. So we're going to watch our expenditures for sure, but there are some basic costs that just rise. They just do.
we can't do anything about it, I know.
No.
I know.
So when you go from, when I came here in 2012, I said this a million times, people are probably sick of it, but when I came here in 2012, there were maybe 20 English language learners in the entire district. So we're looking at 200 now. And that's just students who are currently actively English language learners. That's not counting the ones who have tested out, who we continue to service. We have 5 English language teachers district-wide. That's great. That's something that the school committee has supported and we've invested in. But we still have over 40 English language learners at Memorial Park alone. And the stress that puts on the regular classroom teacher is real.
Absolutely.
So, and I'm not complaining because there are kids, and every single one of them that we bring into this district, they're our kids. And we treat them that way, and we're glad to have them. But it doesn't mean that it doesn't take more time and attention on behalf of the teachers. So,
I think the selectmen realize that. I know that we've talked to them before about it, and I think they understand it, and I hope that the townspeople do as well. That some of these things we just have to pay for, even if we didn't want to, which we do. We want these kids, but the state says you're going to pay this, you're going to do that, and we have to. So.
when you look at the budget for the town, and you go down through, if anyone pulls a town report and they look down what each department spends, and you can't help but get to the schools and see this $27 million amount and go, well, that's a lot of money. We must be able to save something. And so what I really want to convince people of, and you're welcome to make an appointment, sit down with me, and I will show you anything about the budget. That we are spending this money judiciously. We're being very careful when it comes to hiring. I've taken the time to demonstrate, and I will do it again, that we are not overstaffed, that we are not overstaffed in this district. Now, we're going to get to classroom sizes, and they are low, but I'll tell you why they're low, and I'll tell you how that will change if we're lucky enough to get the new building. So, but we are not overstaffed. So,
I think too, even though Jane's not here to speak for herself, I think that Jane's mindset is sort of to break everything down, and so that she can understand it and process it better. I think you two work well together that way. So I do feel like with Colleen on the curriculum and Jane on the budget and the numbers and that sort of thing, I think that we're starting to really be a well-oiled machine. So I feel very confident and comfortable to now that the town hall is also starting to work like a better, well-oiled machine.
Absolutely.
That I think we do work as a team. We go over there with our numbers and we have no trouble explaining it to them, and they come back to us. And
Right.
right?
Good
So-
backup and,
Right.
At the
all
same
those
time,
things,
the town can't print money,
Right.
and,
No.
and receipts are what they are.
Right.
But I do know that the changing to the funding formula is going to benefit Rockland far more than our neighboring towns.
Well, that's good to know.
And
That's good to know.
so I'm very optimistic that that's going to provide some relief, and I'm very anxious to make the argument that I'd like the school department to see that money
Right.
when it comes in, so,
And that's moved right along in the state,
yeah,
new formula, yeah.
yeah. So,
Yep.
All right.
That was-
very long answer to your question.
No, I appreciate that.
When you ask me how I'm feeling about the budget, this is
Well, I
what
ask it
He
for
doesn't
two
sleep every
reasons.
night.
I ask it for me, and then I ask it for the four people that are
Right.
watching, you know.
Yeah.
The people in
But I
TV.
think it's important that they realize the efforts that are put into the
Right.
budget.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I came down the other day to visit with you, and your office was full of people going over just that.
That's right,
So,
I
right.
know, I agree. When I stop in with you or Jane, she puts it right out on the table and tells me exactly what she's doing, shows me exactly, in layman's term, I'm not a math girl, and it's always crystal clear. I ask my questions, she explains it right to me, and I think that's part of it, is she's teaching us how to understand
Yeah.
what she's doing every day, you know?
And so the public knows, our goal by the end of this year is to have what is called a budget book, so that anyone can walk off the street, go to town hall, or come to central office, and they can pick up a budget book, and it will show you everything that we spend money on by school.
right.
Yeah,
And that's our goal, because
That's
I want
great.
people to understand that this is what we're spending it on. You know,
Right.
there's no waste here.
Full disclosure.
If you see
Right.
something that we can do better,
disclosure,
we're wide
transparency.
open.
That's great,
That's
that's
right.
great.
Yep. Come in and see.
Yep.
I
come and
think it
see.
shows too, it holds us responsible for the positions that we're sitting in. You know, we're elected, but we really are here to do a job.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, answering to the people that said we could do the job is a part of it. Okay, moving on to class sizes.
Did we vote on the timeline? Yeah, we did.
Oh,
didn't we?
yes, you did.
Yes, we did. Yeah, I moved that around. Okay, thank you,
Okay,
sorry.
no worries. Class
Wake me up
sizes,
when
I'm
I'm
going to
done.
ping pong back to him,
Okay.
right? Or do you want me to read that?
No
Dr.
problem.
What's
Cronin?
that? Class
Class
size?
sizes.
What's
I
that?
think
Class
The
size?
class sizes.
No, it's, I just want, if you have any questions about the class sizes, I'd say we're very fortunate at the elementary level to have at kindergarten right now, we have sub 20, we have 19.5 students per class. Elementary 1 through 4, our average class size is 18.65, and at the high school, it is 22.7. So those are very good class sizes.
Nicely even distributed, I see.
Relatively
Yeah, yeah,
speaking,
yeah,
we have
I
a
looked
couple
at those.
15s there
Yeah.
that I could live without, but
Right.
again, if we do go to the one elementary school model,
Yeah.
then we can
Figure
shift
out.
those resources around just like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, they look really good classes.
yeah.
Well, and if I'm an elementary parent, I'm happy
Right.
that my child is in a
In
class,
that small.
because 25s are not unheard of.
No,
No,
but
There's-
19, 18s, you
Yeah.
know,
Right.
those are nice numbers.
Yeah.
that's when you want it too,
Yeah.
the small
And the
size.
same thing in the high school and in
The middle
Yeah.
school class sizes are healthy, 23, 24,
25,
18 in grade 8,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
but very, very healthy class sizes, I think.
I think it shows too, I know, I have a 6th and 8th grader, and I've said this to you all 100 times already. The 6th grade is a huge class compared
Yeah.
to the 8th grade class.
That-
Yeah.
But the 6th grade is the biggest class in the district,
Yeah.
and it really is maxed
Very
at
well
25, 26s.
Right.
So it's not crazy.
Right.
It's
You
not
know?
out of control
It's
there.
not out of control.
Right.
So, and that is the
And the
biggest,
same thing with grade 7. They run, you know,
They're right
si-
there.
5, 6, 6,
Right.
and 7 all run about the same.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, good, good. Right.
So,
That
I think
actually
it's
those are good
exciting.
numbers.
Yeah.
The teachers must be very appreciative of that too. With the other concerns that we just talked about with the learning disabilities and that sort of thing, to have smaller sizes has got to be a big help for them.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the size of the ELL population? And
I've gotten two different numbers, but
Okay.
I think that our actual number of English language learners in the district
Probably higher
is
than-
about 190.
Okay, yeah.
When you add in those who have tested out of English language
Right.
learning,
But
but
you
whom
still
we
have
still
those.
service,
Yeah, you still service.
we're at about
Yeah.
240.
Yeah.
So
Right.
again, that's up from,
That's up.
I don't know how many
Exactly.
years I've been here
Yeah.
now.
Way up
But
from
7 or 8, and
since I've been
it's
here.
growing.
Yeah.
It's growing, so,
It's definitely up. You can
Yeah.
see the culture. I'm sure you see it at drop-off at MP.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
yeah,
it's
no,
not
I
a bad
see it.
thing.
No,
It's
it's
a good
not,
thing.
yeah.
They're lucky, that we are sort of aware of them, and we're trying to,
Yep.
yeah.
Make
Service
sure
them,
that-
give
right.
service them.
Right,
As
trying to
well
meet
as
their match.
our population. They're part of our population.
exactly,
Yeah.
they're part of us too,
Yeah.
so,
Got to service them and get them going too.
for sure,
That's good.
for sure.
Good, good.
Okay, on to Dr. Cron's superintendent's goals.
So, as you know, I'm evaluated on every single indicator in the superintendent's rubric. But in addition to that, I choose generally 4 or 5, sometimes 6 specific goals that, quite honestly, they help me stay focused on some things that I want to make sure happen. The first goal you've seen on my list for the last few years, but it's to implement our 5-year district strategic plan. Let me see, I did a PowerPoint, so it'll be easier to read. So implement the strategic plan, improve the use of data by teachers is my second goal. Number 3 is develop a one-to-one Chromebook program to launch next year. That's a biggie. Vaping is number 4. I have some increased concerns about vaping, public health, and then facilitate building project work. So number 1 and number 5 you have seen on my list for the last few years, but again, there's not a day that goes by that I don't work at those 2 things, and I think that it's helpful. Whenever someone looks at a school improvement plan, it's connected to the district improvement plan, and it's connected to my goals, and that way we're all on the same page, and it's in the forefront of everyone's mind. So, professional practice, implement year 3 of our 5-year district strategic plan is measured by 4 functioning subcommittees who will hold no fewer than 3 meetings during FY19. So each one of our strategic initiatives is a committee, and it's led by principals, usually 2 principals, and they work together with members of their committee, maybe teachers, in some cases even students, so that they make sure that we are implementing and working toward each one of our strategic initiatives. It gets a little confusing, but you have strategic objectives, and then for each major objective, there are initiatives. And so in order to make sure that we're working at those on a regular basis, we have this committee structure in place. And it's how I'm able to check on it and work to make sure that the strategic plan is actually meaningful and not just a document that hangs on the wall. As a teacher or as a young administrator, I always would find myself being frustrated. We would spend 12 hours doing a retreat, we would write this grand plan, and it'd stick on the wall and you'd never hear another thing about it. So I vowed to myself, if I ever had the opportunity, that we were not going to waste that time, that these strategic plans were going to be meaningful, and this, I hope, is to people.
You see it over the past couple of years. I know that with your reporting to us as to what's going on, you see bits and pieces of this that you are working on.
Yeah.
So it's quite evident.
Yeah. Yeah. So subcommittees will meet at least 3 times and report their agenda and outcomes to me. We'll use the district action plan tracker to track progress. So for each one of these initiatives, I have a tracker. And I will report the progress to the school committee no fewer than 2 times throughout the year, so that I'm, again, accountable to you, and assure alignment between the district strategic plan and the school improvement plans. Goal 2, improve teachers' ability to use data to inform instructional practice and individualize instruction as measured by MCAS, iReady scores, and teacher feedback. If I'm ever asked, as a superintendent, what is the one most important thing you think you would want to see happening in a school district? It is making teachers more effective. Whatever we do should support teachers, because that's whatever happens between the teacher and the student is really the most important thing. Teachers have had a tremendous amount of information flying at them, more and more and more. MCAS data, their formative assessment data, weekly tests and quizzes that they give out, all this data. My fear is that teachers are overwhelmed by it. My hope is that when teachers hear the word data, they don't tense up, because a lot of times we hear it and we go, data, that must be bad or it must be hard. I would really like teachers to be able to relax around data, to begin to understand it more, and to be able to use it to adjust their instruction on a regular basis. So this iReady tool that we've given to teachers, they now have a dashboard where they can look around their classroom and see above grade level, struggling to beyond grade level, struggling with this issue. And it's a tool, but it could also be really overwhelming for them. So it's a goal for me to have teachers, I want teachers to relax about data, I want them to learn about how to use it. And so part of that is implementing iReady in grades K-8, which is new this year. And so we've been implementing it. Teachers are beginning to give the first round of tests and get that information back. And now what do they do with that information? Hopefully they'll make some changes to how they're teaching and learning. I'm working with our district senior leadership team with this focus around supporting their teachers and helping their teachers become more effective at working with data to inform instructional practice. So I work with the principals work with the teachers, everybody's on the same page and working together. Goal 3, develop and implement a one-to-one Chromebook program in grades 8 through 12. I have formed already a one-to-one working committee that involves Tim Wells, Lisa Ryan, Colleen Forlizzi, Jane, and the middle school and high school principals to talk about do we want a one-to-one program? Would we want the devices to go home with the kids? Should they stay here? There are just a million moving parts to this. One of the things that we've done already is we've gone out into the community and met with 3 neighboring districts who have already done this, and we're asking them what has worked, what hasn't worked, and we're taking all this information back, and my plan is to have a recommendation to you by February 2020 at the latest, but I'd like to have a fully packaged, I'd like to be able to say to you, we've done all of this work, this is what I recommend, what do you think, let's talk about it. Yes?
It says 8 to 12. Do you want 8 to 12 or 5 to 12?
5 to 12.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought.
Yeah, I
That's what
typed that this afternoon, so I hit an 8 instead of a 5.
Come on
But
now.
thank you. Thank you for catching that.
So am I right or wrong, Doctor, but even at the elementary level, if we are fortunate enough to get this new school, will it come as part of the package of what the state is paying for, is
Yes.
the one-on-one Chromebook?
They allow us, we've budgeted $1,800
Yeah.
per student for just technology.
Technology, yeah.
And Chromebooks are coming in at about $225, $250. Then if you add a case, you're probably looking at another $80 to $100 per unit.
And then all the programs that go on each individual Chromebook.
Yeah, and
But then a lot of them come pretty stacked.
you can lease them
Right.
now.
Oh, really?
You can lease them, so we have a lot of decisions to make.
Right.
You know, do we lease?
Yeah.
Do we buy?
Right.
Do we give them a new Chromebook in 5th grade and then give each student a new Chromebook in 9th grade? How do we want to do it?
they
There are a
go
lot of
home?
different
Do they
ways.
stay here?
Do they go home? Do they stay here? There's pros and cons to both.
The biggest challenge I have with Chromebooks, I use a lot of them during
Yeah.
the day, is them plugging them in and getting them charged.
Right.
I do that at home,
Oh,
too.
right.
It's
The
just-
whole plugging them
All
in.
of a sudden, you get a cart, and you look at it, and it's half a dozen that's not charged.
Right.
And, you
Right.
know, and
Right.
you sit there and say, okay.
Yeah.
You know,
But
and that's the big thing.
I agree with you. That is one, right? But I think that it will go into if the students are going to be responsible, or you, the teacher. I think it's the whole thing of the literature of it.
Yeah.
Well, it's important too, you get into, again, what we were talking about
Right.
earlier, English as a second language. To have Chromebooks with all those kids. I've heard requests within the building here that they wish they could have them.
Right.
It makes so much sense. It helps teachers
Translate.
translate. It helps kids translate.
Absolutely.
It would be so important.
It'd be great.
There is so much built into Chromebooks these days.
Yeah.
You know, there's so many different data assessments, you know, work, you know, access, you know, more of the access to information that the students can get to now by using them correctly. And,
Right.
and taking care of them.
Yeah.
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 And
I know
working
that
with them.
there's been a whole lot of interest at the Rockland Education Foundation with grants that were proposed. There's, I don't know how, I think it's something like 100 Chromebooks asked for in different ways
Yeah.
throughout the system. That I don't know what they're going to do with it. I don't get into that end of it, but
You've seen them come
it
across
shows
them.
you,
They
yeah,
need them,
yeah,
right.
all different.
One of the things you know, and probably won't be, but students, particularly at the lower grades, they're pretty effective with these things.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
all the
Yeah,
students are.
for sure.
You know, and they get into it, and I see it is that if you give them something like that, they protect it. You know, it's
Yeah.
theirs.
Yeah.
Don't you touch it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's you, mom, dad. You know, you don't play with my
Right,
Chromebook.
right,
You know?
I feel like you've been in my house.
Right.
My fear, and maybe this isn't, maybe, I don't know, is it fair to say that if we don't get the new school, that the funding for this would be affected in us trying to maintain the elementary schools rather than putting Chromebooks into? Is it the same?
I don't know, I've only really thought about it if we get the project, that
Right,
it
I
means a
agree.
real infusion
Right.
of technology for the
Right.
elementary.
Right.
We could use more Chromebook carts at the elementary for sure. In a perfect world, you'd have a Chromebook cart in every classroom.
Right, right.
Just they'd have their own cart, then the kids could have access to them whenever they needed them. Right now, we have usually a couple of teachers will share a cart, and they're signing them out. I mean, it's still, it's not, it's good.
It is good.
It's
but
good.
not
And
effective.
district-wide,
Yeah.
we really do have, for every student in the district, we have one device. But some of them are old, really becoming outdated laptops that are hard to
Right.
update anymore, desktops. So, but the Chromebooks are really the most effective. And what the teachers tell me is the best thing about a Chromebook is you open it up, it starts up, you're ready to go.
Right.
With the older laptops, sometimes it can take 5-6 minutes to get, which doesn't sound like a lot of time, but when you're trying to start a class, it's a lot of time.
You know,
Right.
but it goes into update modes and the laptops and stuff like that. The only other thing with the Chromebooks is the infrastructure that needs to go with it.
Yeah.
You know, the accessibility to Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
You know, and making sure that the Wi-Fi is split up enough in general locations to accept all that
Yeah.
information.
Right,
You know, because
right.
you got to, you know, like I say, you get 3 classrooms, and you open it up, and there's, you know, maybe 75 Chromebooks going
Right.
all the time. It's all hitting that one, you know,
Right.
that Wi-Fi, you know,
Right.
signal.
Yeah.
And that slows that down too.
So that's
Yeah.
one thing that we're talking
You have
about
to do
with
the
this
infrastructure with
committee.
it.
Right.
Tim Wells is
Yeah.
on it. Tim has assured me that we're in very good
Okay.
shape there.
Yeah.
So I have,
It's
I'm
always
very
upgrading, you know,
confident.
but it's always changing. It's
Yeah.
always got, you know, 3 years from now, there'll be one of these things instead of 5 of them sitting
Right.
up there, you know, and having the access to it.
Well, MCAS testing
Oh.
is another big thing. It's
Yeah.
all in the, the Chromebooks have done very, very well with MCAS
Yeah.
testing. But if the Chromebooks are all going home,
Right.
and then they come in for MCAS day, does that change anything
Right,
with the
Right.
state as far as,
right.
So there are a lot of questions, there are a million
Yeah.
moving parts.
And that's some of what the state has to come forward to it and tell the districts what they're expecting in the future, even for what type of testing they're going to do and how to secure that testing, you know,
Right.
making sure that it's equal, you know, and it's not, the equal testing going across the Commonwealth.
Right.
You know, and using the same, So it's an interesting,
It's more of a conversation, I think. More to
Yeah.
come. More
Yeah.
to
Oh, yeah.
come.
Oh,
So
yeah.
so we're working on the budget
Technology
side of
changing
this,
all the time.
so that we can ensure that we have adequate funding, not just to start the program, but to sustain the program, to service the program. I'm already anticipating that we're going to need, right now we have Tim and we have Chris, but we're going to need someone, we're going to need at least one more staff member in that department. to service all of these.
And I think people will understand that.
Right.
It's obvious that with technology, the way it is today,
Right.
it's just growing and growing and growing, and that
Right.
we need help teaching
Right.
these kids so they
Right.
can go out and survive in the world.
Right, right.
That wasn't me.
No, that
Sounded
was
like
me.
you were taking off.
And then we're in the process also of conducting an
floor.
annual technology curriculum review so that we make sure that we're really being sharp with our technology curriculum. Student learning. I want to ensure that students K-12 are receiving targeted instruction on the dangers of vaping and other tobacco-related products. I fear I'm becoming my grandfather on this issue, but the ban in Massachusetts triggered something for me. We don't know what this stuff is doing. And my greatest fear is that 10 years down the road, we do know what it's doing. And it's incredibly harmful to our kids, and we didn't do anything about it. So I've been meeting with Kathy Ryan and Freya Leahy and Brenda Folsom to look at our health curriculum K-12, to look at our adjustment counselors and the work that we're doing in the counseling department, and also to talk to Kathy Ryan, who's incredibly plugged in with each of our school nurses. I want to make sure that there's good information out there, that it's timely, and most important, I want to be sure that adults in the district are having conversations with the kids to say, because I think it matters. I think as much as a kid might roll their eyes at us, I think when we say to them, look, I'm nervous about this, I think that has an effect on them.
Okay.
And I think the ban, from what I'm hearing, the high school have had far fewer problems this year with vaping in the bathrooms than they did last year. We see a decline. But my fear is that kids think it's not harmful.
Correct.
And I'd say, you know what? Maybe you're right, but maybe you're really wrong, because we don't know. So it makes me nervous.
We know about cigarettes.
We know
Right,
about
but it took cigarettes
cigarettes.
so much longer. I think that's the scary part of vaping, right? Is
Yeah.
cigarettes, it took that much longer for them
Yeah.
to figure out. Vaping isn't necessarily going to be that long-term problem.
Right.
You know? I think that it's out there. It's definitely, it's strong for sure.
Yeah.
So,
They came out with something new with it today. It has to do with vitamin E.
Yeah, I heard that.
You know, and
Yeah.
they're kind of glaring on that one.
Yeah.
You know, saying, you know, because of what vitamin E does to the body, and you know what happens, you know, what it does to the lungs now.
Right.
you know,
Right.
So, but
scary.
again, it
It's
is
so
scary.
scary.
You know, and it's happening so fast.
and it's big. It's big. It's popular
Big
out there.
bucks, too.
Yeah, very popular.
And that's the issue. It's very popular, and it's very, you know, revenue generator.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So we're going to review our building-based programs with principals and related staff, review our youth risk behavior survey findings with principals, and using the YRBS, establish some goals for the next year. So when we redo that survey, we'd like to see some change in the attitudes. Just for example, if a student is asked, how do your parents feel about you smoking cigarettes? You know, 95% of the students say my parents are against it. But if you ask them, how would your parents feel about you vaping, it's more like 45%.
Really?
So that perception bothers me,
Correct.
because they're much more apt to try something if they think, you know, but that's student perception. And again, we just don't know, so I'm nervous about that.
And then, I'm going to go back. So you're going to do that and then have a parent night after we get the results like we did last year,
We're going to
right?
have a parent night
Yeah.
about vaping too, just
Right.
how to talk to your kids about it, what information we know about it. So I'm hoping to have that. I'd like to do that before the holidays. That's
Yeah.
the goal that I've given to
I
the
think
committee.
that needs to be a big campaign, because
Yeah.
I think that, I'm not sure that all the other parents, you know, that we're all so busy juggling everything we're juggling, are aware that it is as huge as it is
Right,
out
right.
there. you
Yeah,
know?
and good for parents, quite honestly, who have been able to get off cigarettes and on to, I completely
Right.
understand and applaud them for taking steps to get off cigarettes, because we know those will kill you. I mean, you know, so the last thing we want to do is make a parent feel bad for going to a vaping.
Exactly. Well, they're out there for a reason. It's
right.
just that they shouldn't be in our kids' hands.
Right.
You know?
Right. I just don't trust the tobacco companies who own the vaping products, so I just don't trust them.
Revenue generator, that's all.
And then
Right, you're
finally,
That's all.
continue to work collaboratively with the town to and community support the funding of a new Rockland Elementary School. So December 2nd, we have our town special town meeting, and then December 7th, we have our special town election to vote. So those are our 2 big days that we're really working toward.
Not that far out.
Continue
It's
to
not
track
25
information, participate in community events, provide updates to the school committee, and participate in the work of the Rockland School Building Committee. So those are the 5 goals that I've put together for this year.
Sounds good.
I don't know if there's anything you'd like to see added to that, or if you have any questions or comments.
I think that will keep you very busy.
Yeah. At least the
I don't
next
think you can add anything else.
Next couple
No.
weeks,
You don't have time for more than that.
Yeah.
until the first of the year.
Yeah.
Is there anything else on the ballot yet for December 7th?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't believe so.
I know you have to wait till town meeting.
Yeah. I do think there's going to be, for the special town meeting, there are a couple other housekeeping
Housekeeping,
things
yeah.
that are
Okay.
on that agenda.
Right.
But really, the big thing is the building project.
Right.
Okay?
And that would be, yeah, all that stuff is going to be talked at town meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. They'll be publishing something soon. Haven't they published all that stuff yet?
I would assume it has
Yeah,
to be
yeah.
out, right,
Yeah,
in so many
yeah,
days
days,
ahead?
yeah.
Right. So we
Yeah.
thank you, Dr. Cron, for your goals.
Sure. Is there, I don't know, do we vote on this? I don't remember.
Oh, we can
Yeah,
if
well,
you'd
yeah.
like.
I don't know.
Motion to accept.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Never heard.
I think you are driving the ship well. I never feel motion sickness, so I think you're doing well. I appreciate all that you are doing. I wanted to say that.
Thank you.
We will move on to the end of our meeting for public service announcements, and we will start with ladies first. Ms. Gear? Sorry, I feel like I'm like, is that you?
Yeah.
So we are now in term 2, which is really awesome. There's definitely been like a really good vibe around the school with the volleyball doing as well, the volleyball team doing as well as they are. They are the Division 3 South volleyball champs, which is really awesome. They have another game tomorrow, so there's a bunch of hype around that, which is just really fantastic. You like see the school community coming together. On Thursday night, this Thursday, the 14th, we have our Mr. Rockland. That is going to be quite a show. I was at rehearsals earlier today, and it's really coming together nice. Doors open at 6:45, and tickets are $5. And then the next Thursday, I believe it's Thursday the 21st, the juniors and seniors have their powder puff game. And that's about it.
Wow, that's a lot.
It is a lot,
And Thanksgiving's coming up, everything else is going on.
yes. Mrs. Davidson?
Oh.
The diamond that still blinds
Yeah.
me all day.
I would just like to invite everyone to Memorial Park on the 19th. I think it's a great opportunity for everybody to see the condition of the school. It is the last option, unless you schedule it otherwise, to see the school in the condition, especially before the vote on the 2nd and the 7th. And that's it. Besides, it's getting dark and cold out early, and be careful driving.
Right.
Mr. Mills?
Let's see. Well, it is dark and cold, and it's, snowy this morning, and, it's this afternoon and stuff like that. Be careful out there, because it is, we've had this change all of a
Fast.
sudden and I find myself, driving and looking and saying, wow, this is, particularly this afternoon with the snow and everything else, and watching people, not only kids, but people running across the streets and stopping fast and stuff like that. So that's be careful. We do have another meeting in November, do we not?
Correct.
Yes.
We do.
That's what I thought. And and then, that's is that before Thanksgiving?
Yes,
It is, yeah, that Monday
Yes.
before
Yeah, it's the
Thanksgiving,
last
that
week.
was
Yes.
the 20...
It's that and then Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and then that, okay, all right.
Okay.
I was going to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, which I'll do anyways and stuff like that, And the teams are doing well, and I really, enjoy what's going on.
Okay. Mr. Phelps?
Again, the teams, what a fall we've had. It's been magnificent. The football team, miraculous, really, what they accomplished. The soccer teams done extremely well. volleyball goes without saying. I'm going tomorrow night.
I wish I could
I
go.
have a dear friend to go with me, Mr. McKinley, and we travel as a pair sometimes. And
Does he
I'm
know his
looking.
way around here?
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Yes, he does. And on the other note, going along with what Mrs. Davidson says about this school that's coming along, I would encourage people to please ask questions with any of us, the administration. Just ask questions if you have them about what's happening. Anything that comes to your mind. I personally, I've been doing this job for, as most of you know, a long time. I am so firmly in favor of this. To me, it's the last piece of Rockland having a phenomenal educational system. It will provide up-to-date and modern facilities, equipment to all of our kids, which they dearly need to keep up with these other towns. It has to happen. I mean, when you think of Jefferson School, I have friends who've grown up, married, had kids, died, that went to Jefferson School. And the same thing with Memorial Park.
Correct.
It's Memorial Park, I'd say it's a tin can for the most part. And tin cans rot after a while. We need this project, and as I say, I just want people to know that I am firmly in favor of it for what that's worth.
Well, thank you.
We have a three-leg stool here, you know, and, you know, we got two of the legs rebuilt.
You're right.
And now we need
Now
the
we
third
need
one
the
to
third
make a
leg.
solid foundation for
Absolutely,
our
Tom.
town.
Absolutely.
Right. So I'm going to roll with that and thank Danielle and Dan Biggins for all of the help they're doing, leading the pack, working, sort of banging their heads together, coming up with ideas, trying to get the word out for this. They had a fundraiser on Monday, yes, at Players for ice cream. I did wake up my middle schoolers to get there for ice cream for breakfast, but thank you to them as well, to Dan and Danielle, I should say, and all of the pack for supporting us and doing everything you can to work on that vote. I agree. We're not supposed to say that we want you to vote yes, but I think we see both sides of the coin.
Yep.
We sit here on this school committee and we see the finances of it, but we also hear about the education. We are here for the children, our students, the town of Rockland, and so I think it just is the third leg to the stool. I will move on to, there is a half day on Thursday this week, so not only did we get to have our children home on Monday, but we get them home even earlier on Thursday. Yes, it's a blessed week. So we have a half day Thursday. Parent-teacher conferences for the middle school is next week, Thursday, Friday. And I'm hoping to get to Mr. Rockland with the family on Thursday. So.
I have one other thing.
Sure.
I'd be remiss, you know, this past Monday was Veterans Day.
Oh, yes.
And
Good remembering.
you know, to all those veterans that served and, you know, make this country to what it is, and, you know, just, you know, say thank you, you know,
Amen.
wave at them, you know, give them a pat on the back, you know, kick in the shins. No, but to all of us, you know, men and women, and, you know, and all of them, everything else. Thank you.
All right. I agree. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Have a good night. Thank you.